Hey friend, you aren't leaving your firm just to work nonstop and make less money.
You wanted freedom, fulfillment, and a practice that actually supports your life.
Welcome to Off the Clock, the podcast for lawyers and law firm owners who are ready to break up with the billable hour
and build a profitable, joyful, client-loving practice that loves you back.
We're Gwen Griggs
and Whitney Harper,
lawyers, law firm founders, and co-creators of ADVOS Pro.
Each episode, we share stories, strategies, and bold steps to help you stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms.
So let's get you off the clock and into a practice you're meant to build. Welcome to our very first episode of Off the Clock. In this first episode, we are going to talk about why we broke up with the billable hour and how you can too.
I love this conversation. I'm so excited to dive in with you on this one today, Gwen.
Yeah, I think we can fill up all the time. So we're going to have to keep our conversations tight. Do you want to start with when did you first realize that the billable hour wasn't working?
You know, it's funny. I think I actually really liked the billable hour when I started practicing because
contrarian to the core.
Like I'm a gold star. I know. I'm a gold star seeker. I love if you put a target in front of me, I love to be able to beat the target. I really enjoyed having a metric every day that I knew if I had hit the target or not. I knew that I could go home feeling like I had kind of done what I needed to do or not. And I really didn't bill by the hour for very long in the grand scheme. I was only in that role, kind of in a big law, hourly billing traditional model for a couple of years. So for me, in the beginning, I thought it was great. Here I am in a law firm and I'm the widget and look at me getting my gold star every day. And I think I hadn't yet hit the point in my life where I was really considering like, yes, I have a metric, but is it a metric that matters, that is meaningful, that actually like delivers on the life I want? It just was like, this is the way. And this is how law firms work. And man, I could hit that gold star pretty well. So like from that perspective, the billable hour was working for me.
That's awesome.
In a very short time period or in a very small container. And I don't think it was all, in hindsight, I don't think it was a very healthy arrangement. Working late hours, never really turning it off if I hadn't hit my target for the day. And certainly now where I am in my career, looking at it from a lot of different perspectives, I can see where it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the client. It wasn't good for the profession generally, the reputation of the profession. But I'm curious if you can tell us about kind of where that breaking point was for you when you realized it wasn't working. So you had a longer immersion.
Right. Mine was pretty immediate, honestly. So I went through school, got the gold star. Gold star was always very important to me. Doing it as fast as I could, getting the answer as fast as I could, being a fast thinker, solving problems, figuring out who your audience was and how to speak to them. Like that was the gold star. And then I got dropped in a world where my metric now became how much time did I spend on something? And could I track that I spent at least 8 hours a day? And for me, I had a very interesting, very different initial practice. I ended up being the litigator for all the small claims courts, all the county court matters. So had, unlike most people's experience in big law, had depositions and small trials. And those kind of cases where it felt impossible to me to track at least 8 hours a day. And I would look at the people around me and realize I was there just as long. I got there when they got there. I left when they left or later because I was trying to make sure I had those hours. And I just found it really frustrating. And if I was able to solve a problem quickly, if someone called and I knew the answer and I could call the other side and solve it, the client would be pleased, right? The client was thrilled and I wasn't meeting my metric and I knew that I wasn't delivering what the law firm really at its core wanted Whitney's heard this story before, but my one and only review as a lawyer, as a professional, and they said, "You're doing great. Clients love you. You know, they don't want the work to go to anyone else, and your hours are fine." And I was like, "Fine," like knife to the heart,
Fine. It's just fine.
really painful. Um, so that was the first. And then, similar experience to Whitney, I became the general counsel of a company, and that was this eureka. This was this moment when I realized I could practice law, I can deliver results, and hours weren't the metric. So it was a turning point, and a powerful realization that I could do the work that I really loved and not try to track all the time.
Yeah, I think that that client impact, the client perspective is so interesting. And we both sort of had that evolution of our careers where we went from the big law, the traditional model, to being part of the client team, right? Being like we were the lawyer inside a business. Um, and so as general counsel, like you are the client of outside law firms, but you're also the lawyer serving your team. And so you have this sort of like constant comparison of what is it, the understanding of what does my client, the team that I'm part of actually care about versus how do these lawyers who are outside work just inherently because of what their foundational model is. They care about the time and you could hear it as the client. The people who were going to have a really long conversation about a very short topic,
Right.
because they're billing by
Or,
the hour.
or there was an hour booked. By gosh, we're going to spend every minute of that hour because
Mhm.
there's nothing else to fill that hour with. So
Right. But as the client team, the management team, you're looking for how do we deal with this efficiently and effectively and get the result we need, not like the perfect score or the perfect brief or the kudos from our opposing counsel or whatever. Like, no, it was just I need the result. And that shift I think was for me when it occurred to me that oh this hourly thing is the problem here.
hmm,
That it's actually it's not people hate lawyers or people hate working with lawyers because we're lawyers. It's because there's this misalignment. And I'm curious, what you saw from the client's perspective. I know you have some great stories about people, the client experience of working with hourly lawyers.
well, I always think about the fact that when I would get a bill with all of the line items on the bill, I would look at the very bottom. I would look at page 22, whatever, with a number at the bottom, and think to myself, is this number, this number that we're actually going to pay, does this line up with what I thought it was going to be? Did I expect this or did I not expect it? And as someone who was always focused on efficiency, it boggled my mind that people were tracking every minute of their day, and someone put this bill together, put this invoice together with all of those time entries and making sure the time entries matched. And I just thought, what a waste, right? What the client wants to know is what's the bottom line? What is this going to cost me? And frankly, not even in a month by month version, which is the way you would get it, right? Like maybe the project started on the 25th of the month and you got this bill for $500, and that doesn't tell you anything. And then the next bill is $20,000, and right, just tell me it's going to be $25,000, right? That, like, let us make informed decisions about it.
Yeah, I thought that from my perspective, when I was in-house and then later when I was like running a business unit, that was one of the most striking things is every other buying decision that we made, I could ask and get good answers to what are we going to do here? What is the likely outcome? What are the options for how we address it? And what is the expense associated with those various options so that I could make a heads up decision about is it worth the expense? Is it worth the time, the effort of the various ways that we could address whatever the issue was? I could do that in every other context, but when it came to legal, it was like, well, we'll just have to wait and see until we get into it.
Right. And you know what I think is really true too, that really good lawyers, they have an instinct for it. They know they've done it enough times. They
Yeah.
just haven't bothered to write it down and communicate it effectively. But they're doing it. They're thinking of, this is phase one. Here's where the choice is. Here's phase two. Um, and that's where, right, there's no reason there can't be a system that helps people, in the world of business, right? How can we create a repeatable process so that more people can learn how to do it the
Yeah.
same way? We create efficiency that way, and everyone wins in a world with more efficiency.
But there's a lot of fear in it too. I think like they haven't written it down, but they're also terrified that if they do, right, if they say this thing is going to cost you X dollars, that it's going to go sideways, or there will be some change to the plan, or some new fact will arise that they don't have control over, and they're going to be left holding the bag, that they will have committed to a number that no longer makes sense. And that's where, I think a lot of lawyers, when they think about, okay, if I don't bill by the hour, then I bill by the what. And there hasn't historically been an answer for what you could be billing by, other than sort of that flat fee. I'm going to lock things in, and I'm going to say for this piece, whether it's a document or a phase of litigation or whatever it is, like for this piece, here's the fee. And then inevitably the lawyer loses because things do shift and we can't know all the variables at the start. So I think that's been one of the most interesting things about our evolution, is that exploration of, if you're not going to bill by the hour, bill by the what. And for us, I mean, we tried, right? We tried the flat fee stuff. And it was not fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think the analogy, right? Like people, like a lot of our colleagues, when we talk to them, they're like, well, my world is so complicated. It's so complex. And we really borrowed a lot from huge software development projects,
Yeah.
right, that are just as, if not more, complex. There are variables that you cannot know when you start, that the world changes, expectations changes, everyone learns along the way. And it gives the flexibility to make sure that the lawyer doesn't set a price and essentially create a ceiling for themselves and feel like they're boxed in, and they can't have a heads up conversation around pricing, right?
Yeah.
And to your point earlier of like every other decision we make, we have clarity around, if I make this decision, here's the cost of that. I have options to make other decisions. And historically, that's been a real challenge for lawyers. And then I think you add to it big law firms that have huge systems and teams and software, and just, I mean, the amount of software that tracks time, it's an aircraft carrier to try to make the change.
Well, and the software, but also the compensation systems and the career progression and the retirement and all of the things, right? Where it's all been focused on the hourly billing metrics for so long that's an aircraft carrier that does not turn on a dime, for sure.
It doesn't. But if you're studying the student of business, right? Like, how do you make change? You start small. You don't try to boil the ocean, right? To use a cliche, but you're not going to try to change all. You're going to look at, where's an example that we can start with and get muscle memory and learn and see how to make it successful, and be sure that along the way it's successful for the client, for the team, for the owner, for the lawyer.
I want to back up a step, Gwen, and just give a little color about what it is. So we said it's not hourly, and it's not a bucket of discounted hours that you're buying in bulk, and it's not flat fee. But what is it? So what we're really talking about is where we landed, which is breaking down the project into its component parts, right? Deliverables, thinking about those components and sizing them, and giving some flexibility to that sizing, frankly. So it's more about giving the client a sense of what makes up their project, and how the size and complexity and the choices they make, and the kind of the facts on the ground of their particular situation, feed into what the ultimate fee will be, so that the lawyer isn't the one who loses when the client makes a different choice, or the client's circumstances cause some increase in complexity or whatever. But the client still has good visibility and a way to understand what's going on with their fee, and frankly, a way to be participatory in shaping that fee. Not just understanding it, but having a good conversation with the lawyer to say, if I make this choice or if we decide to go this route or whatever, how does that impact where we're going? So I think it's important to understand, what we're talking about. To your point, we didn't entirely make it up. We leaned heavily on an industry that's already doing knowledge work and sizing it into points. Right? So software developers are using sprint points or story points, that goes by a couple of different names, but they've been doing that for a while, and it works. And it certainly, we've been doing it, a decade now, and it has worked really beautifully for us.
Yeah, that the mindset, I think that one of the mindset shifts too is, as lawyers, we're constantly looking for precedent and the way it's always been done. And we sort of imagine that it's always been done a certain way. We all grew up in the world of billing by the hour. So we just think that that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
And so being innovative, creative, and iterating, right? Part of the secret sauce, the magic of it has been, when something didn't work, we didn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We looked at what did work in it and how can we tweak it? How can we do it differently next time so that doesn't, and it really affected the mix of clients who we serve really well, who understand the way we work. I do want to talk a little bit, Whitney, too, though, about your personal experience of being a lawyer who billed by the hour, and relationships and your life, and then what it was when you billed by the hour and what it is today.
Life is completely different now than it was way back when for me. But the experience of being a newish lawyer, billing by the hour, I really wasn't thinking about how the work I was doing fit into what my clients' overall goals were. And so I think there was we had great client relationships to the extent that you can when you're billing by the hour and the client's kind of trying to hold you at arm's length and put you in a box and give you very little information, or at least keep the conversation short. But I think about now the experience of the way we interact with and relate to our clients versus the way it was then. It's wildly different. Our clients love working with us. We really do have great relationships with them. We know what's going on in their business. We know what's happening in their personal lives. We are looked at as part of their solution, right? Part of their team, instead of yet another adversary that they have to deal with. We're no longer the necessary evil. And that's an incredible shift, because I love the work I do. And now I get to love it, love the client interaction that I have in it as well. But also, from a personal perspective, I have an incentive to be efficient, and it's okay to get better, faster, stronger at the work we're doing and knock it out quickly and deliver great value for our clients like that, while also taking that free time for our family, or just to get out and be in the outdoors on my own and kind of shake the cobwebs out of my head or whatever. So that's been great. And then it's a way more profitable way to practice, which I love. Big fan of that. Gwen, how about you? What's your favorite big shift going from hourly to the deliverables model?
Mine is very deeply personal, right? In the world of billing by the hour, I look back, and I know I sacrificed my relationships, trying to win the game of billing hours. And I know I wasn't, frankly, the mom I wanted to be or the friend I wanted to be. And interestingly enough, before starting ADVOS, I worked at a workplace wellness company. And if there's any place where you're going to learn that you can have a really profitable business that does not bill by the hour, that clients don't pay for by the hour, that clients can appreciate, and it's there. And so using that model and seeing a different, it's hard for me even to remember what my life was like, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
where hours were the measure, and the, did you win or lose in part? I mean, obviously you need to get the deal done, get the work done, but part of it was, did you track enough time? Did enough time show up on your timesheet? Because that was really the only thing that was measured. And I think that's one of the big challenges too, is that the quality of the work, the client satisfaction, like none of those things are measured really in a practice that bills by the hour.
Yeah. So, all right, parting shots. We always talk about like if you don't like the results you're getting in your business, so if you're not thrilled with the time freedom, you're not enjoying your work, you're not making enough money, whatever it is that's not working for you in your practice, you have a design problem, right? And it's, if you don't like the results that your machine is kicking out, it's time to go shift the design of that machine. So what is something, if you had to say to somebody who's listening to this today and going, oh gosh, like I am really not enjoying billing by the hour and need to make some shifts, what is one thing you would say as an easy first step for someone to take?
It is what we talk to our clients about, which is take a look at your practice and who are the clients you love working with and what is the work you love doing, and do some analysis around it, right? Like if you went historically, what's the high, what's the low, what's the range, and start to pull back the layers so that you can understand how you price it, what the client pays for it, and what the variables are. I think that's the first thing to look at.
So pick one common thing you're doing and think about how you might price it and then give it a shot.
Yeah.
I love it. Mine would be to take the ProMance scorecard. I think that's a great way just to take a minute, maybe 10 minutes, but the scorecard's free and it's a great way to go get a sense of what you really want from your practice and where your practice is doing well for you and where it's not, so that you can get a good grip on a first next step to start making some improvements there.
Well, this has been fantastic. Great first episode. Congratulations, Whitney.
And to you, my dear.
See you next time.
See ya. Thanks for joining us on Off the Clock. If you're ready to design a law practice that's profitable, joyful, and built around your life, not just your clients,
come check out The Path to ProMance and take the ProMance scorecard at ADVOSPro.com.
And if this episode spoke to you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another lawyer who needs to hear it.
You deserve a practice that loves you back. Let's build it together.